What's going on, y'all? It's the bearded one here, Rally Radio in the building. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You know how we get down, kid. We are here. Yes. Let's go. You already know what it is, man. Listen, there's a lot of things going on right now, man. But first and foremost, shout to everybody who's out here enjoying this beautiful summer day. You already know what it is. We looking real good out here. It looks like our home team is actually shooting for their first NBA championship in 27 years. And that right there is impressive to say the least. But we're getting right back to this automotive news. You know how we get down, man. It's the bearded one. This is Rally Radio. We in the building. Shout out to everybody rocking with us, paying attention. With that being said, we're going to jump right into what we got, man. Before we do that, though, a couple things I wanted to talk about, man. Listen, if you are out here and you're driving across train tracks or you're driving anywhere near train tracks, can you please do us all a favor and actually pay attention to what you're doing? We had a real issue over the week. I've seen about 2 different videos of people either driving on the tracks. There was a female who drove her Mazda, I want to say her Mazda SUV on the tracks, and it looked crazy. She ended up looked like she was in the train station somewhere. Then we had somebody else who recently drove their train over the train tracks and actually stopped and the train tore it up. So we got to be mindful, man. We out here and we driving. Y'all got to pay more attention. We can't have people out here just driving and moving around for no reason and they ain't doing nothing. You feel what I'm saying? But shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You know how we get down, man. We're going to set this off with our cold start. You already know how we get down. So our cold start today is going to be a little bit of what we have in the title over here. I know a lot of y'all checked it out. It looks like Ford and GM on the side have been talking to Trump about changing the right to repair law. Now, like I said, this is our cold start. So we like to start with just a little bit of news to let everybody know what's going on. Now, what's the Right to Repair Act? All right, so the Right to Repair Act is actually the Right to Repair Act is actually made for people who own cars and for you to have longevity out of your car. And it's the right to pretty much fix your own car. Now, you can already see where this is going, actually. So it looks like Ford CEO Jim Farley, his stance is that the right to repair law is good, but because of the damage that you could do to the newer vehicles, a lot of people don't know how to fix them. So he wants to change that. I don't know. That sounds like BS to me, and I'm just gonna call it what it is. Come on. He talking about he want to make sure that people are able to actually fix their cars, and if they can't fix their cars, he wants to make sure that they bring it in to the dealership. Now, to me, I believe he's partially right. But at the same time, you can't tell people that they can't fix their own cars. I think right there he's wrong. Like there are people who are going to do damage to a new vehicle if they don't know what they're doing. Case in point, right? I was changing the brakes on my Civic Type R, right? My Civic Type R is a 2019. And as I'm changing the brakes, you get to the rear calipers and I'm like, it doesn't seem like you could easily push the piston back. Now, a lot of these have changed since then. A lot of these cars, they don't allow you to do that. What they do is you either have to use a specific disc that you push that when you push down the piston, you have to actually spin it down, which is crazy. You got to spin it down so that it works. So I was actually doing that, but they also have a device that you got to plug up into your OBD port, which is right under your dashboard. And from there, you have the car do it. You program it with your phone and you actually have it able to retract the pistons. Now, this is for a lot of new cars. A lot of people, if you don't work on cars, or probably if you're not up to date with like what we supposed to be doing when it comes to changing the rear brakes, you could do some real damage. Luckily, I did a little bit more homework before I tackled it, and I understood that this had to happen in order for me to make sure I don't damage the caliper altogether. And that turns into a whole nother problem. So I can see how if you're doing work at home on your car and you don't know what you're doing, you could definitely do a lot of damage. However, people should still have the right to repair their own cars. And I feel like with them trying to repeal it, it's not really an onslaught on new cars, it's an onslaught on older cars. Because if you can't fix those, now you got to go get a brand new car, or you got to go to the dealership to get your car fixed. Case in point, let's say you got a 1990 Ford Mustang, and let's say they was to change this right to repair act. Now, they will also try to say, "Oh, it doesn't apply to, the older vehicles, and it doesn't apply to this." But in all honesty, it does. This is what they getting at. So if that's the case, that means you can't even repair your own car. You can't even repair your own car. They can actually stop you from repairing your own car. And this is why this is very important. This is why we got to make sure that we paying this a whole host of attention, because they definitely want to make sure that they get all the money. How do you say, if it's a nickel bag sold in the park, I want in? That's exactly where Ford and GM is going. But I think the worst part about it is that they were doing this behind the scenes. Now, mind you, right to repair has came up a lot of times. They even Ford themselves actually tried to stop people from getting into the Mustang ECU, saying that it's piracy because you may be stealing information from in there, or you may be changing things in there. They tried to make it, well, an ECU is a computer. So if you stealing stuff off the computer, they consider it piracy. A lot like if you got people who got the hack Amazon Fire Sticks or whatever have you, they trying to make it seem like you're stealing. Wow. Now to me, that's a reach. A lot of times when people are tweaking their ECUs, they tweaking them to get more power out of them, they tuning them, or they could be tuning them to run even better than the company may want you to run. Because there's a lot of things that you can do to actually get your car to run way more fuel efficient. And that right there is a task in itself. But the way Farley is trying to play it, this doesn't work. You can't sit here and say that you don't want people working on their cars because they're going to do more damage, but it's still their right to do so. And if they don't know what they're doing, the dealership is definitely going to benefit off of it. They're definitely going to be like, you know what? Now that you done tackled that and you broke it even more, bring it in. Now you got to pay them to look at it, pay them to diagnose it, pay them to fix it. So I don't see how if the people don't know what they're doing and they break the car further, actually hurts the brand. I don't understand. And I feel like he definitely hit Ford and GM, mind you, not just Ford, excuse me. Ford and GM was definitely going with this. So just to read a little bit of it, just days ago, President Trump met with auto execs from Ford and GM to discuss the right to repair, a critical concept that will ultimately affect every car owner in America. The exact outcome of that mini summit remains mucky. But one follow-up comment from Ford CEO Jim Farley has everybody raising their eyebrows. Exactly what I'm saying. He's, like I said, he's saying pretty much that people can do a lot of damage to their cars, and that because these cars, they have no idea how to fix them, pretty much is what he's saying. Now, I can understand if you're not Marty McFly, you know what I'm saying, and you don't know what you're doing. I get that. Like, let's take these electric vehicles. Shout to Erica Marie. You already know what it is. Shout to Erica Marie for tuning in. So you can do a lot of damage, but like, let's say I can understand you don't want people fixing on an electric vehicle at home, right? I understand that, because you pierce a battery or anything of that nature, you could actually do a lot of damage. The EV batteries can actually catch on fire, especially if they're exposed to water. Next thing you know, the water gets in the battery and it can start an explosion, right? I can understand that. But as long as it has an engine transmission, you should be able to work on this thing. Now, obviously, they are gonna want you to come back. Even BMW recently changed a lot of their nuts and bolts in the cars, or the head studs and the head bolts rather, to BMW logo, where you need a specific tool just to get to it. And this is nothing new. We've seen this before. We've seen a lot of car companies actually do that. We've seen people do that. But at the end of the day, is it greed? I think it's greed. And I think they weren't expecting Trump to expose them like that, because he really put it out there like what they were trying to do. He actually called it strange. He said he didn't understand why they would want to do that. he recently said that Ford and GM had asked him to restrict owners' right to repair. And like I said, it's been a long-standing battle going on. And he found it weird, and he said, "You know what? We're gonna make sure that we fix that people could have the right to fix their car." And I think that ultimately that backfired on them. Them trying to go to him to the low or on the low and then turn around and he actually exposes them didn't really work in their favor. And it looks like they actually had he had a meeting with them, I want to say about 3 weeks ago. And this is when they had mentioned it to him that they would like to change the right to repair. And it was Ford, it was GM, and it was Roger Penske, the race team owner and leader of an auto dealer empire. See, that's what I'm saying. They're starting to get into the money. They want your money. You know what I mean? So we got to make sure we pay attention to this right to repair. Whenever your rights come across the table and they want to make a decision, we got to make sure we're paying attention because it's just like that. Imagine what happens if the right to repair act is repealed. Imagine what can happen at that point. That means no auto mechanics. You might as well, the auto mechanics can no longer work on their own. They can't open up their own businesses. They would have to work for dealerships, right? Now that means that you are forced to take your car to a dealership to get fixed. And last I checked, if you have no other option to do something, that's considered a monopoly, right? Like at that point, you have to bring it back to them. And that's kind of what they want. So it's like, I guess the EV thing, a lot of companies lost a lot of money dealing with the electric vehicle thing. Honda lost about $15 billion. Porsche lost a lot of money in the billions. And that's why a lot of car companies are now walking away from the electric vehicle deal. And I believe that they're trying to get that money back by doing things like this, the right to repair act. So we're going to make sure that we keep that in mind. Don't forget, tune in to Rally Radio. You know where to find us. Saturdays, YouTube at Rally Radio Podcast. Don't forget, you could scan the QR over there, take you right to our YouTube page. Subscribe. We got a lot of other things going on. On top of news, we definitely got a host of other things going on. So just don't forget to check us out. We appreciate everybody who's rocking with us. And with that being said, we're going to jump into our next little bit of show that we have going on. Like I said, it's not going to be too long, but we definitely got some automotive news, a couple funny things going on that we want everybody to hear and pay attention to. So with that being said, let's jump right into our next little segment we got going on here. This is going to be our weekly specs. So I love this part of the show, actually. Let's get to it. You already know what it is. Let's go.
Weekly specs. Auto news for all the listeners, only on Rally Radio.
All right, we are in the building. We are in the building with our weekly specs. Let's get right to it. So, with our weekly specs, it looks like a couple things is going on here. On top of that GM and Ford thing we was talking about, it looks like there was an alleged cannonball runner who was caught by the police, and I think he was doing the smartest thing ever. He was doing the cannonball in a mock-up cop car. So let's get into that a little bit. Now, for those that don't know what the cannonball is, the cannonball run is pretty much, I hate to call it that, but it's pretty much like a timed run from New York City to LA. Who could get it done the fastest? Now, you've had people who set all kind of different records. I believe the first record was about 30 hours, but now you have people trying to complete it in 24 hours. This guy in particular, alleged cannonball run, is actually interesting. He actually had his car dressed up like a Ford Taurus that you see the cops using. Blacked out, tinted out, black wheels and everything. But it looks like as he was driving through Colorado, he was flagged by the highway patrol out there. Now, as he's flagged, they realized that he scrambled their lasers, so they couldn't even really figure out how fast he was going. Long story short, he tried to get away from them. He got caught, and when they opened up the car, not only was the car heavily modified, but it also had all kind of fuel cells in it, and these guys pretty much took him and locked him up. Now, it's not that this race is legal. Let's be honest here, right? The race is not legal. it is illegal. However, it was really done because a lot of people were at that time they were like boycotting the speed limit. So just to put that out there like that, the Cannonball Run was actually created because car guys were boycotting the speed limit. Now, at this time, this is when they were starting to enact speed limits all over the place. Imagine a world without speed limits, though. Could we really like one time, like imagine a world without speed limits? It's crazy. Shout to my guy, Dr. Phil. He said it's all about the paper, and yet Ford can't even build ish without recalls. Shout to my guy, Dr. Phil, because I'm gonna tell you right now, Ford already, I think they topped the list of 2025, and I believe they headlined for 2026 for the most recalls. But that is actually interesting. Shout to my guy, Marlon. He tuned in as well. Shout to Phil. He said started by Brock Yates. Shout to my guy, man. Let's go, Phil. Started by Brock Yates and as a boycott to the speed limit. So now, like I said, it's not that it's legal. However, people do take part in it. And it looked like these guys had the best idea. They were going to disguise themselves as a police cruiser and actually do this thing. It looks like one of the men was allegedly that attempted it. Obviously, he was caught. And they pretty much wasn't disguised enough. They were doing 130 miles an hour when they were flagged. And I don't know if you've ever seen any of these Cannonball Run videos. I actually like them. I am front. But they are like super tuned up. I mean, when I say super tuned, not only that, they have so many different things that they're able to run these cars 24 hours at high speed, that for a long time. I mean, like I've seen one with like 3 fuel cells on it on top of the regular gas tank that it has. We see them with all kind of radar detectors, jammers, lasers. They got CBs, they hear everything. They got a team with them, they got people checking out ahead of them, making sure that everything is the coast is clear. I mean, like it's definitely I've seen some of the things that they use, and I gotta say it's like really high tech. But I guess you gotta be. I guess if you're gonna really commit to doing it, you gotta make sure you're ready to deal with whatever repercussions. So it looks like upon closer inspection, the officer noted that the Ford sedan was built to resemble a police cruiser and even came equipped with illegal modifications, like I said, including a signal jammer, the ability to turn off all vehicle lights, and a license plate cover. This led the authorities to believe that the car was built as a Cannonball Run car, which these officers had already encountered. Now, that is ill. I ain't even gonna front. That is ill. He actually had license plate covers. He was able to turn off all the lights. And everybody's like, yeah, turn off all the lights. Why that's a big deal? A lot of these cars, as soon as you start them, they have daytime running lights that don't go off. It's like the tail lights are always on or anything of that nature. So a lot of these cars, they've made them like that over the years that you can't even turn the lights off. So they already modified there to be able to turn the lights off. Police cruiser, jet black. However, these guys never really cop to anything. But the driver, his name was Greg Barclay, and his accomplice was David Bandler. Both men are now facing charges, and it's believed Bandler was helping Barclay evade the police. There is evidence found in the vehicle indicating that they were attempting to warn other drivers about the police presence in the immediate area. So let me find out they was doing this with a crew too. They probably was doing this with a crew, but shout to them, man. I don't care what nobody say. It is what it is. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Listen, they was trying it. Looked like they was doing it in the middle of the night, trying to cruise through the area or speed through rather. But it is what it is. Now, obviously, once the Colorado police got a hold of the car, they got a hold of the gentleman and locked them up. They started looking them up, and guess what? The dude Greg Barclay pops up on VinWiki. I don't know if you follow that page, but on VinWiki, he talks about a lot of different things with automobiles, finding some really rare cars. And this guy, Greg Barclay, was on there talking about how he did a past Cannonball Run. I mean, like, you got to really, really, really can't get caught like that, though. But I mean, at the end of the day, they locked up. They got locked up. They got released. They impounded the car. So I guess we're gonna see how that goes. But I will say this, man. Shout to them. Shout to them. It is what it is. I love cars, and that's that. I don't know. It is what it is. So a lot of people and I get this question a lot too. And I know a lot of people that love cars or motorcycles. Oh, what about the speed? It's dangerous and this and the third. Listen, it's like an oxymoron, right? They build a car that could do 200 miles an hour and then only want you to do 30. Like I get it. I understand that you don't want nobody speeding around in the city and it could get dangerous, but there is a time and a place. And if there's not a place, I believe the United States need to create one. We have we have a situation where you have people who love to drive, and maybe they could drive better than other people if you gave them more than a racetrack, or even like an open road. Like I believe out in the Midwest, they're working on that. I think Montana is working on their own little autobahn where you know what you want to drive, you drive out there, you could get your speed on, and it's on a legal street or whatever. I guess you accept all penalty if anything happens. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's gonna be hard for car companies to stay in business if they got to limit their vehicles. We saw this. The minute they tried to jump into the electric vehicle craze, look at how bad that went for everybody. Look everybody that jumped in head first, pause, actually suffered. So we gotta be honest here. You know what I mean? It wasn't the greatest thing. They tried to take all the money, and this is what happened. So, shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You know how we get down, man. We're going to move on to our next little thing. It looks like Jeep recalls more than 1 million Wranglers and Gladiators that may catch fire. So, if you got a Wrangler or a Gladiator, they are telling you to park this thing outside. We've heard this before, right? Well, it looks like an issue with the power steering system wiring could create a fire, leading to the automaker to urge customers to park the car outside and away from structures. So when I'm going into some of these parking garages, if I see a Wrangler, I'm telling. That's it. Ain't no more to it. I'm telling. You don't need to be driving nothing like this, but it looks like something with the power steering. Now, this is definitely something we've heard before. We've seen it before. A lot of cars have been recalled and told not to park inside. A lot of them were electric at this point, but it looks like Jeep has figured it out. So Jeep issued a recall and fire risk warning 1 million Wranglers and Gladiators because they might catch fire, even when the vehicle is parked and turned off. The recall stems from the electric hydraulic power steering pump wiring and covers Wranglers and Gladiators from 2021 to the 2025 model years. Owners are urged to park their vehicles outside and stay away from other vehicles and buildings. Chrysler issued a similar recall to the Pacifica plug-in hybrid van. So this is what it looks like. If you own a 2021 to 2025 Jeep Wrangler or Jeep Gladiator, park it outside. Do yourself a favor. Don't park it in your indoor garage or park it in your house in the garage. There's a good chance that this thing can catch fire. And not that it always does, but they do have to take the precaution and warn you that this is something that can happen. And it looks like it's being filed with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. So it's for real. It ain't no joke there. Shout to my dude. Shout to Coach K. Coach K is in the building, man. Shout to Coach K. Let's go. So it looks like it's really happening. So just make sure you do yourself that favor. If you own a Jeep Wrangler or Jeep Gladiator 2021 to 2025, either take it to Jeep to get this recall addressed, or don't park it inside. All right, because it could definitely get ugly, and if God forbid you lose any kind of property or anything like that, they are surely going to say that they warned you and that you shouldn't be parking that thing. You know how we get down, man. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You know how we get down. It's the bearded one here, Rally Radio in the building. We also got a little bit of something going on here. Now, I wanted to talk about this. Last week, but I really tried to get more of an understanding of it because I didn't understand what was going on at first. California's new tire regulations could be a nightmare for enthusiasts. So at first, when I read the title, I was like, here we go again with California. California can't help themselves. It seems like every time you turn around, they're doing something silly to either mess with cars or mess with gas-powered cars. So just to get into it a little bit, what it is the factory tire spec can improve handling and braking and also fuel mileage. So what California is proposing is that any tires that's able to be put in a car should have the same fuel mileage the fuel mileage rating as a stock tires or better. So now we getting into this a little bit. It's like, you know what? That could be good if you have a Wrangler with smooth tires. But let's say you own a Jeep Wrangler. I know, we just talked about it being parked in the garage. But let's say you get a Jeep Wrangler and you want the knobby tires. You want the paws. You want the tires that got all the ridges in them so that you could drive off road. Who's really caring about fuel mileage out of those tires? No, you're worried more about grip and you worry more about making sure that it could handle what you putting the task up to. But it looks like that doesn't matter to California. The California Energy Commission proposed replacement tire efficiency program. And this is where it gets a little silly. Let's get into this a little bit. In short, these proposed regulations will not result in a shorter replacement tire lifespan for California drivers. In partnership with a lot of different people, they saying that the leading independent tire testing laboratory, the CEC, tests tires that are sold for the most popular cars and light trucks. And they're pretty much saying that the aftermarket tires do not keep up the spec with the stock tires. So what do they want you to do? They want those tires to be able to keep up with the same spec. Now, how does this hurt the enthusiast or somebody who wants to do something to their car? We could talk about either Wrangler with the rugged tires. We could talk about performance tires. We could talk about drag race tires. You could even talk about stretch tires or whatever for the 20-inch rims or whatever. If those tires do not help you stay with the same fuel mileage, they won't allow them to be sold in the California market. Now, why they want to do that? Why do they want to turn around and tell people, yo, you can't have this kind of tire if it doesn't save you gas? And it's like a lot of people who go out and buy these specific tires do not care if it helps them with gas because they're not buying it for that reason. But again, this is California. This is the same people who have the California Air Resource Board who is doing everything in their power to ensure that we will be fully EV by the time it's 2035. These are the same people that after they seen Europe adopt their no gas powered vehicles sold after about 2035. They also tried to adopt it. And look what it did to the automotive industry. Look at what it did to your pockets alone. And here they go. Now they're dealing with tires. This is like, it just doesn't make sense. It's like, you know what? This is something that I don't feel they need to get into, but I feel like they are justifying their jobs at this point. You know what I mean? Again, it's the takeaway of choice that you got to pay attention to because they like, you know what? We don't want you choosing your tires. We don't want you actually deciding what kind of tires or whatever you want to use. Of course, that's going to hurt the enthusiast because not every car that the enthusiast drives, he drives for gas mileage. When I drive my Type R, I don't care about the gas mileage. How they say smiles per gallon. That's it. That's all we care about. So even when you ride a motorcycle, and they didn't get into that because motorcycle tires are made up differently. So now, do they have to be great as far as mileage is concerned? It's just I can't understand California for the life of me sometime. And if we know anybody that lives out there, tell them to drop a comment, man. Let me know what's going on. Is California still friendly to the automobile at this point, or you doing better if you walking? I don't know. Very interesting, man. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. We in the building, man. You already know what it is. It's the bearded one here. What's your thoughts on that? Drop it in the comments below. Do you believe that California should be able to tell you what tires are sold to you and which ones are not? Or should that just be up to the consumer? If you're looking for tires that you're going to save fuel, all they got to do is list it when it's for sale. Why are you trying to stop people from actually owning it? Why are you trying to stop people from but yet and still we talking about in the same breath, they allowing red number 5 in the food. Come on. They allowing so many different things that causes cancer. But they're like, yo, you know what? Them tires though, we need them tires. This is ridiculous. This is what I'm saying, man. Do the right thing by the people. Let the people have their choice. But things like this, I don't know. I feel like there's bigger fish to fry. I could be wrong, but I'm looking at it from the bearded one's point of view. You know how we get down here, man. So with that being said, man, that right there had to be one of the single most things I wanted to really talk about. I really wanted to talk about it last week, but I couldn't wrap my head around it. I wanted to make sure that I had a lot more information on it. And the more we looking at it, let the people have their tires. Can the people say amen? Let the people have their tires, man. Stop playing. Let the people have their tires. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But again, like I said, this is California. These are the things that they like to do. They like to make sure that they shut their people down at all corners, but yet and still, I don't know. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. We're going to jump right into our next little segment we got going on here. You already know what it is. Let's get right to it. Let's go. Here we go.
It's Tech Talk with Pop the Bearded One.
All right, we are back. It's Tech Talk. You know how we get down here, man. This is what we like to talk about, our little thing. Shout out to all the car people that's tuned in, rocking with us. Don't forget, drop a like, drop a comment so we can shout you out. If you tuned in, paying attention, you already know what it is. Shout out to everybody who's rocking with us. Now, let's get into this a little bit. It looks like Toyota. Now, if it's one company that did not buy into the electric vehicle craze, it's going to be Toyota. And shout to Akito Toyota, because recently he said that he feels like he's all alone because he's the only one that's still pushing combustion engines, even that he just want to change the fuel. He's trying hydrogen. They're trying so many different things in order to keep the gas-powered car alive. Shout to Toyota. However, Toyota is secretly working on the mid-engine all-wheel drive sports car. Now, we all talked about this before. We heard about it years ago. We seen a little rendition. I remember they put something out, and I thought it was a beautiful car. And it looks like they're still working on it. They may reintroduce the MR2 or maybe reintroduce as the MR2, but we still years away from production. But again, this is what Toyota does. Toyota is actually, to me, one of the best automotive brands out there. I gotta say, they're even better than Honda at this point because it's what they doing. You know what I mean? Shout to Ingrid. Shout to Ingrid. She tuned in, paying attention. Let's go, Ingrid. I hear you over here. Let's get it. Shout to Ingrid tuning in. You know how we get down. So my thing is, Toyota sells everything. See, they didn't just jump into the electric vehicle craze. Right? Toyota ended up selling everybody everything. They said, you want a pickup? We got that. You want a luxury car? We got that. You want a regular get around? We got that. You want an SUV? We got that. You want a sports car? We got that too. You want a sport compact car? We have that. So you got to shout them out. These guys at Toyota have been paying attention, and I feel like they give people exactly what they want. And this is no different. People have been waiting for MR2 for a little while. The last MR that they came out with, the MRS, it's okay. You can find them out here, lightweight, probably good track cars, not as super powerful until a lot of people doing a lot of swaps to them. They swapping different Toyota Camry engine. I believe there's one hybrid engine that they were swapping in there. They was removing the hybrid cam and making that thing run. Shout to my dude, Chrome. What's going on, Chrome? What it is? You already know what it is. Shout to my guy, man. So they've been definitely working on a lot of different things. But again, this is Toyota here, man. This is Toyota. They are doing the right thing. And they're still saying that this car is years away. Will it sell? Of course it will, because there are Toyota loyalists and enthusiasts who are buying. And you know what? It come out in a couple years. I may be looking at trying to get it too. Hopefully, Rally Radio is through the roof, and I get to actually review that car for you. And don't forget too, we are definitely out here. You can find us on YouTube at Rally Radio Podcast. All you got to do is scan the QR code up here in the top. And you could definitely hit us up, follow us, and really let you know what's going on. Definitely something that Toyota is always, I'm telling you, they are always doing the right thing. And at one point, I even felt like Ford was doing the right thing, but, find out that they're doing things behind your back, like trying to stop the right to repair. But it looks like Toyota still is definitely trying to lead the league. They have recently gotten rid of the Supra. The Supra had its swan song with the Heritage Edition. Got a chance to see that car up close and personal at the New York City car show. Crazy. I know there's a lot of dudes, especially these Toyota guys. Oh, I can't stand that car. But hey, That again is Toyota giving it a shot. They did have to merge. Maybe they wasn't making as much money where they could actually sell you something that they made on their own. But it looks like they're going back to the drawing board with the Toyota Supra, and they will be back with that car. But until then, this is now we talking about the GR. We talking about the Toyota GR Corolla, GR86, right? Super still there, even though this is it. This is the last swan song. And now it looks like they're trying to come out with something like this. Even Toyota recently came out with a GR go-kart for kids so that kids could learn how to race. I think that's very interesting. Again, they, shout to Toyota once again, man. They doing everything they can to make sure that the essence of driving is still here. And to me, that's very important because ultimately, driving to me represents a certain amount of freedom that you want to have. Shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. Don't forget, drop a like, drop a comment so we can shout you out. You already know what it is. Shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You know how we get down, man. We rocking. We in the building. So, with that being said, it looks like there's another Japanese auto company that is actually trying to make a comeback, and they realize the error in their ways. And guess who that's going to be? Subaru. Subaru looks like they realized the error in their ways. Now, for those that don't know, Subaru put out an STI. I believe their last STI was a 2019, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But they put out their last STI 209, and you haven't seen anything since. And to be totally honest with you, they even got rid of a lot of their that performance side of them. People were looking for the Subaru STI. They hadn't seen one in so long. Then they came with the WRX, the Subaru TS, and it's like they've been teasing and teasing, but they really haven't committed to actually giving the people, I believe, that put their brand on Front Street the car that they want. So now you had guys, buying older Subarus, things like that, but it looks like Subaru has found the error in their ways, and it looks like Subaru has 3 new manual cars that will be coming out by 2027, including the BRZ, WRX, and hatchback. They all going to be manual. Now, we know the Subaru BRZ, that's pretty much the GR86 brother, or sister, rather. You already know that's going to come manual. But it looks like under these sheets and covers, they have a WRX with a manual transmission, and they have a 5-door hatchback. The 5-door hatchback, I really want to see. I want to see what they're actually pushing with that. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. My dude, Dolph Spalding in the building. You already know what it is. We back. We are back. Riley Radio is back in the building, back in my new spot. This is what it's going to be. Don't forget, drop a like, drop a comment so we can shout you out. Subscribe. You can subscribe by shooting the QR code over here in the top screen over here. Don't forget, we love everybody that subscribe with us. It's definitely going to be an interesting summer. We got a lot of things coming up. But with these 3 cars coming out, this is shocking me, actually. I'm going to be honest with you. Because Subaru is definitely not what I thought they were going to do this. Now, last year, I believe in the Tokyo Auto Salon, they released a hatchback looking car, but it was like a concept. Like they were trying to say, yeah, we may release it, we may not release it. And I think that a lot of people were pissed off with it. Like, it's like Japan gets all the good cars. Why we don't get this car? We don't get a lot of different things. Look like Subaru heard us. So now it's going to come down to us as consumers. And what do I mean by that? What do you mean by that, Bidwin? When these car companies come out with these cars, we got to pick them up. We got to buy them. If you was waiting for a Subaru manual from them, brand new, don't front on it. You got to go get it because that's the only thing that drives the numbers and keeps these cars going. If you do not pick up any of these cars, don't be mad when they don't make them. Don't be mad when they don't make them. But it looks like this is definitely something that a lot of Subaru people are going to be looking forward to. And we already know, like I said, that they're going to be manual, which is the deal breaker for a lot of people like me, automotive people like us that actually tune in. Shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You know how we get down. Shout to my dude, Jeff Outlaw. He tuned in as well. We see you over there. You already know what it is. Just got to make sure that you pick these cars up. The BRZ, I've seen a lot of different content with the BRZ. And you know what? Even with the GR86, I've seen them. Definitely not something I wouldn't mind owning if I didn't already have my Type R outside. And when that Type R is paid off, maybe I'll get one. But at the end of the day, I would love to do a review on one of those. I'm gonna see if I could definitely get one and see if the drive is exactly what a lot of people are saying. But Subaru releasing these 3 cars is definitely telling you a couple things. One, they realize the error in their ways as far as not putting out enough manual cars. And the other thing that they realize is that if you don't include your performance people, it could hurt your brand. We say this all the time, right? It is not the little car with the roll down windows or the car with the less options in it that keeps dealers afloat. It is the sports cars that keeps the dealerships afloat. And I tell you why. One, you're going to get a lot of people that's going to come in there to buy it. 2, you're going to get a lot of people that just come into the dealership to look at it and may end up buying something else. And 3, we live in the age of the markup now. It doesn't look like nothing is sold at sticker. However, if the markup is not stupid, you got a lot of people who's willing to pay. So the sports car is what helps the dealership, not the little putt where you're like, oh, I'm looking for something that could get gas mileage, and they're like, yeah, okay, 10,000. No, that doesn't help them. The sports car is what keeps the dealerships afloat. So with that being said, man, shout out to Subaru. We got one more automotive company out here that is actually doing a lot of different things. And if you thought that BMW owners were already problems, annoying, they like fans, if I could make them into any sports fan, they like Eagles fans. They like Eagles fans. You like, come on. Every time you turn around, whoa, yo, my BMW got 560 horsepower. You know what I'm saying? We running the drag through. We've been running the drag through. You're like, yo, man, y'all just got fast. Let's keep it a buck. But at the end of the day, the BMW M2 for 2027 will add an X-Drive all-wheel drive model. Whew. So it's bad enough. I'm not going to lie. These guys are these BMWs these days are fast. These G80 bodies and things like that. Well, this BMW M2 is not that. Not the G80 body. But they are fast. It chops a few tenths off the 0 to 60 and makes the winter commute easier. So you already know if your car's all-wheel drive, you're going to have a lot of fun out there in the snow. I have a 2006 Infiniti M35X, and I'm going to tell you that when I'm driving that car, I feel like I'm driving an SUV because I'm telling you, I'll park on a snow hill without a problem. Not saying I'm telling you to take your 2027 BMW M2 out in the snow and actually drive it around like a clown, but you could if you want to. Again, that's your choice. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about. Make sure you keep your choice. But BMW adds an all-wheel drive model. You already know. These BMW guys are going to be all over this. Now, it's obviously still going to have the 3-liter twin turbo 6, which is crazy, making 473 horsepower, 443 foot-pounds of torque, and the same as the rear drive automatic M2 that they were selling. But this one is going to be all-wheel drive, so it looks like it's going to get ugly. All the M2 drive models will come fitted with the 8-speed auto. The 6-speed manual isn't going anywhere, but you won't be able to spec it with the all-wheel drive. So if you get in this BMW M2 all-wheel drive for 2027, it does not come manual. It will only be auto. But again, most of these BMW guys can't drive manual anyway. I said it. I don't care how you feel about it. Y'all can't drive manual anyway. It is what it is. But with that being said, shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. We appreciate everybody for rocking with us. Like I said, we just want to get out here and make sure you put out this automotive news. Don't forget you can find us Saturdays, YouTube, Rally Radio Podcast. We're going to shoot for 12:30 every day. Not every day, but 12:30 every Saturday. Live show. We're going to have a couple other things we got going on, but I just wanted to shout out everybody who's tuning in, who's rocking with us. This is our second show back consistently this week. Been out for a little while, definitely. And we're going to talk a little bit about that when we get to the driver's etiquette. But shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. We're going to move right on into our driver's etiquette. You know how we get down, man. Shout out to everybody who's rocking with us. Let's go.
Driver's etiquette. Because sometimes you got to get this off your chest.
Shout out to everybody who's rocking with us is now driver's etiquette. Now, driver's etiquette was pretty much created when we first started doing the show. It was created so people could actually call in and actually tell the world how you feel. There's a lot of things going on where you don't really get a chance to voice your opinion and say what you want. But we still working on the phone line thing here that everybody can hear what's going on. So till then, I'm just gonna vent a little bit. There's a couple things that I wanted to talk about here. So when it comes down to driver's etiquette, do you try to keep the mileage low on your car? And if so, why? Right now, I thought about this a little while because I went searching. Like I'm a member of a Type R group. Let's put it out there. I'm a member of a Type R group, and I see a lot of guys that have these Civic Type R's. Now I have a 2019. They came out with a new body style since then, the FL5 version. I have the FK8 version, and you see a lot of guys that's like, yeah, I'm putting this on the car, putting that on the car, and I'm keeping the mileage low. And a lot of people, buy into that. And I just want to know why. Like, to me, if the mileage is low on the car, is it because it's not the daily driver, which I can understand, because you definitely don't want to drive something that you cherish in these New York City streets. Maybe a little different if we lived in North Carolina or something like that, where the roads are great, but out here the roads are not great. And I can understand that. However, though, when you drive it like you stole it. You know what I mean? Like, I just cannot understand like the low mileage thing. It's like, if I see high mileage on the car, that means you enjoyed it. You know, and even now, I can't say my Type R is the mileage is high on my car, but that's only because I take the train. Because if I wasn't taking the train and if I was driving to work every day, when I was driving to work every day, I enjoyed driving the Type R. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And or thoroughly enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, I love driving that car. From going from R plus mode to comfort mode to sport mode. And then, like I said, I know there's a host of other sports car owners or sport compact car owners that are like me, that love driving these cars. And if the city streets was better, if you didn't get in trouble every block, if the speed limit wasn't 20 miles an hour and you could get out and walk faster, you definitely would drive that car every day. But to hear somebody that doesn't live in the city, or even just doesn't live like how our city life is, and they saying they trying to keep the mileage low, I just don't understand that part. I feel like, cars are meant to be driven. I have a 1988 Honda CRX that I'm currently working on, and I will say that from that car sitting, you could just see how things could just break on the car from not being used. And my Type R, been driving it, and it's like, because I'm using it every day, it's like it loves it. So it's like, I just think about that. When you think about keeping the mileage low on your car, is there a reason that you do it? Don't forget, drop it in the comments below. Is there a reason why you keep your mileage low? A lot of people are thinking about resale value, and I think that's the biggest reason why a lot of people try to keep the mileage low. They think about resale value. If I'm buying a car and I already think about selling it, I don't need it. I don't need it. I always say, don't get me wrong, you're going to buy a car, you're going to sell a car. Now, if that's what you're going to do, then more power to you. Like I said, power of choice, right? But as far as me owning my Type R, I wanted the car because I wanted to drive the car. And whoever knows me knows the story. I didn't initially go out looking for a Civic Type R, even though I always adored those things because I'm a Honda guy. I love Honda, right? I really went looking for a Dodge Challenger Hellcat wide body manual, but these things started popping up on the thievery list, something crazy. And after a while, when I went to go sign it away, they wouldn't sell me a manual version. So because they wouldn't sell me a manual version, I didn't want it. I was like, you know what? I want manual. You know what's manual? Type R is manual. There's no automatic Type R, and I'm actually happy about that. That means that we fit in a different class. So, with that being said, that is definitely one of my things. I want to say that if you are actually, owning a car and you're like, I don't want to drive it, I want to keep the mileage low, you might as well sell it now. You might as well not even wait. You might as well just do yourself a favor and just sell a car then. And then you got some guys who sell a sports car and buy another one and buy another one. I can respect that too. I understand, it's like how to say the flavors. You want to have different flavors or whatever. You want to have a shot at everything. You want to try everything. I understand that. You know what I mean? Shout, shout to Big A. He said, about as bad as the people that buy performance cars then worry about gas mileage. Right, exactly. Once you buy a sports car, you don't care about gas mileage. I don't care. Like I said, the Type R gives great gas mileage to me because it's already a four-cylinder turbo. But I was on the hook for a Dodge Challenger Hellcat wide body. I didn't care. They was like, yo, the gas is going. I'm like, so? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I feel like I can't afford it, the gas at that time, I'm just gonna walk, but I'm gonna keep the car. But that definitely, shout to Ant. That is exactly the problem, man. Listen, they are as bad as people who buy performance cars and then talk about gas mileage. It's a fact. I'm telling you, man. I don't care. I am one of them. Listen, if I'm gonna have this car, I'm gonna drive this car. You know, and then it even to me harkens on a bigger issue. I believe the reason a lot of people want to keep the mileage low is because it's like when we go to some of these shows, and don't get me wrong, again, shout to my guy Keith, shout to my guy Sly Fox. I went with these guys to a car show that they was having in my town at the beach. And let me tell you, man, oh, with some beautiful cars out there, man. I mean, Trans Ams, like you name them. And a lot of these cars had super low mileage. And these are muscle cars. These are cars that people probably had 50, 60 years. And the mileage is still low. I guess these to them, that's more like something they have in the back pocket if they gotta sell it. But I don't know. I probably would be driving these things, man. Drive them while you can, drive them while you got legs, drive them while you got feet, drive them while we got road, drive them while they still gas. Drive them. Just drive the cars. 'Cause trust me when I tell you, the worst thing that you could do is actually sell your car and actually see somebody else driving the hell out of it. That could hurt. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention, man. That's our drivers here to get. You know how we get down here. About to move on to our next little segment before we get up out of here and let you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Oh, we got a couple things going on here. Now, this is actually very interesting. It looks like we got a little hot mod, something that I can't believe that I'm actually seeing, but let's just jump right into it. Let's see how some people react to it. Definitely, I didn't think that this is gonna be something that somebody would do, but check it out. Let's get right to it.
Mods, the newest and freshest. Modifications, parts, and fashion. Only on Rally Radio.
All right, y'all know how we get down, man. It looks like if you are one of those Dodge Charger Challenger owners I was talking about, one of those kind of guys that bleed Dodge, that are actually excited that Tim Kuniskis is back and that y'all actually getting some autos that y'all thought was going to be off the shelves, it looks like Dodge has made something for you. Now, Dodge is selling an official Charger cologne just in time for Father's Day. And a lot of people already saying it smells like pure gas, but it is what it is. Dodge is out here releasing cologne for those Charger owners that feel like just sitting in the car and smelling the inside is not enough. You definitely want to, if you want to smell like your car, or if you want to have this in the glove box and actually, I'm not going to lie, it's in a black bottle with a red line around it. It definitely looks a little sleek. I don't know if I want to wear it because I don't know what Dodge Charger smells like. That I don't know if I want to do that. But shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. If you're interested, if your dad or has a Dodge Charger and you want to get him a good Father's Day gift, Dodge is actually selling what they call the Charger fragrance. It's available to purchase on Dodge online merchandise store. And tell you the truth, A lot of people were saying it smell like gas. I just think they being hilarious, but Dodge is out here selling this stuff. So definitely, if you're looking for your dad or your brother or your husband or something like that, charge your fragrance.
Mods, the newest and freshest. Hey, modifications, parts, and fashion. Only on Rally Radio.
All right, y'all know how we get down, man. We are in the building, and we have reached one of my favorite parts of the show. Hopefully, one of yours. The more you tune in, so let's just jump right into it. Here we go.
It's the Understeer,
What up?
where we like to ask, what the hell were you thinking?
So we're gonna jump into this one real quick. This is actually hilarious. Police say Ford Mustang driver flies into a pond and then proceeds to fall asleep in the car. Apparently, authorities say the driver had a blood alcohol concentration level of more than 3 times the legal limit. Now, I've been seeing a lot of these as far as people driving away or running from police. This one's actually interesting. Ford Mustang convertible. He actually was doing triple the speed limit. Looks like he was flying. They end up trying to pull him over. He turned off the road. He runs into a creek. And as they get out there to reach him, he's sleeping in the car in the creek. This is hilarious. Then they come to find out he blew a 0.25%, more than 3 times the legal limit. And I think that right there is ridiculous. Now, as far as the drunk driving side of it, that was stupid already. So that's definitely going to get you to understeer, right? But you know, really, really, I don't understand. Are you that drunk that you just fell asleep in the daggone car, brother? That to me gets you to understeer. I don't understand people like that. Just to see him lose control and fly off into a pond and don't try to get out. Obviously, the cops are thinking he's dead. They get to him, he full snoring. So that Mustang driver is gonna get the understeer because for the first time, we saw a horse fly. Let me stop.
It's the Understeer,
What up?
where we like to ask, what the hell were you thinking?
So, like I said, I've seen so many of these recently, and there's been people driving on train tracks, ending up in train stations with full cars, you name it. So many more understeers. If you get an understeer that you want me to talk about, don't forget you can email us at you can email us at gutterballrally@gmail.com. Gutterballrally@gmail.com. You already know what it is, man. Shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. Shout to everybody who rocked with us. We appreciate y'all. You know how we get down, man. Got love for everybody, man. We definitely gonna be bringing back a great automotive show, but there's more than that we're gonna be doing. Don't forget, scan the QR code over here. It's going to take you right to our YouTube page where you can subscribe. We got a couple things going on. Tomorrow, we will be going to a Cars and Coffee, 450 Washington Street. This looks to be promising. We definitely got a lot of video coming up. Last week, I went to Nassau Coliseum. Bangers, pause. They had an event. It was tremendous. Went inside. I want to say outside was more popping than the inside. They had a lot of things going on. But again, my kryptonite to some of these car shows, the music, man. Dudes be having full house speakers on the top of their car playing wow music at the top. So it's like, bruh, I got transit ears, luckily, so I could barely hear what they're saying anyway. I'm stop playing. But I will say that we definitely got a lot of things going on. We're going to be doing a couple reviews, talking to a couple people. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share, drop it off in the comments below. Don't forget that you can also scan the QR code and everything like that. So with that being said, we shouting everybody out that definitely came to holler at us today. I appreciate all of y'all. You already know what it is. Shout to Erica Marie. Shout to my dude, Dr. Phil. Shout to Coach K. Shout to Tonya Got a Dream. I see you. Shout to Jessica Grandy. She tuning in. Shout to Ingrid. Shout to my dude, Chrome. Shout to Big Ant. You already know how we get down, man. Shout to everybody who's tuning in. You already know what it is, man. It's the bearded one in the building. You know how we get down until next week. You know how we get down, man. You know how we get down. Don't forget, like I said, we going to the Cars and Coffee tomorrow, and that's going to be at 450 Washington Street in NYC. So until then, we from NYC, where the potholes is crazy, the rent is too high, and somewhere in San Antonio, Nixon 5. Y'all know how we get down, man. Shout out to everybody tuned in, paying attention. Till next